Oakley PRIZM lenses versus SMITH ChromaPop lenses. Which is better? Everybody's been asking us for years. And the answer is, it depends. All good questions. The real answer is it depends. In this video, we're gonna go over what each one is good for, what the pros and cons are of each one, and hopefully by the end, you'll know which is best for you. Hey everybody, my name is Sunglass Rob from SportRx, and I've been in the eyewear industry for almost 3 decades. Yes, don't count all my gray hairs. About 10 years ago, the sunglass goggle industry was kind of revolutionized with this new type of lens technology. Oakley calls it PRIZM, Smith calls it ChromaPop, lots of other brands call it lots of other things. But basically what's been able to happen now is with the use of new types of dyes, the brands are able to specifically cancel out certain colors at certain wavelengths and boost other colors at other wavelengths. So instead, you can just kind of make things lighter or darker or make them yellow or brown or gray, but now you can actually specifically cut out the blue wavelength at 420 nanometers if that's what your brand thinks is the right thing for whatever you're trying to make those lenses for. So we were able to get way more specific. And the real kind of simple way of saying it is immediately, overnight, all these new lenses gave you such better optics, such better clarity, so much more boost. So I think it was really game changing when we went from all those old lens techs to all these new lens techs. And both Oakley and Smith came out with theirs. And since day one, people want to know which is better. So PRIZM is a little bit different than ChromaPop, just like theoretically. What Oakley says about PRIZM is it manipulates the light spectrum to maximize color and contrast for detecting contours, textures, and obstacles. Enhanced clarity for identifying ice, packed, and powdered surfaces. ChromaPop says it filters 2 specific wavelengths of light to improve color perception and detail in various lighting situations. Kind of sound the same, but what I've noticed is that PRIZM is a lot more kind of intense, a lot more boosting, a lot more noticeable. Most of the PRIZM lenses, almost all of them have some sort of rose or garnet or kind of system base color. And then on top of that, there's mirrors or not mirrors. And that's what changes the light spectrum. That's what changes what makes them a little bit darker or lighter. Where the ChromaPop uses lots of different base colors, and then with or without those mirrors, you're actually getting more than just kind of rose. I believe everything is rose except for one persimmon lens, which isn't really all that popular from Oakley anyway. For all intents and purposes, you're getting some sort of rose from Oakley, and you're getting different colors from ChromaPop. One of the most noticeable things you'll see very quickly as Smith makes it much easier to pick the right lens for you, and Oakley makes it really, really difficult. So ChromaPop is really specifically named. They have a sun lens for bright conditions. They have a everyday lens for kind of everything in between, not too bright, not too light, or if you're the type of person that doesn't really care and you're not going to change your lenses anyway, that every day gets you through most things. Then they have a storm lens, which is good for whiteout, really kind of intense, gray, foggy. If you're the type of person that doesn't go inside no matter what the weather and you're getting your runs in, having that storm lens in your back pocket is amazing, or in your front pocket of your jacket. And then they also make a photochromatic lens, which means the lenses actually get lighter and darker depending on how sunny or overcast it is out on the mountain, which a lot of people really love because then you don't have to think about it. Yes, you still have your second lens, but that photochromatic lens pretty much just takes care of itself and is awesome. So you really, in the naming convention, really quickly understand which is the right one for you. And then you're just kind of choosing color based on what color you like, aesthetically mostly. PRIZM has all sorts of names: sapphire, sage gold, garnet, rose, and nobody really knows what any of them mean unless you're Sunglass Rob and you work at SportRx or you become an expert or you do a lot of research. So the naming convention itself does not give you the actual kind of conditions they're specifically for, so you have to think about it a little bit more. They do have a really dark one, which is the black iridium. Then they have a gray, but the gray's actually, like I said, they're all rose. They're not even actually gray. They're still just like a dark, dark rose. And the black iridium, if you're used to regular Oakley black iridium, is really a gray base. These are not. It's still that rose base. So like I said, if you like rose, probably Oakley's the way to go. I love rose, but probably Oakley's the way to go. But then they have a bunch of lenses in the middle. And again, you wouldn't know if they're in the middle or not unless you like get the chart or look at our videos. And those lenses have like a little bit of secret magic sauce to them. All those lenses, the sapphire, the sage, the torch, there's a bunch of lenses in that middle that, although they're not specifically everyday lenses, they're not specifically sunny lenses or low light lenses, that prism technology and that contrast makes them work so well in almost all conditions. So that middle of the road lens from Oakley, I think is way more, has a wider spectrum of use than the middle of the road lens from ChromaPop. And the reason why is that intensity and that contrast. So you might put them on and they'll feel a little bit dark, but I've used that torch lens on like a whiteout day, and you don't really realize that your lenses are kind of too dark or not too dark, because that prism just really intensifies all that contrast, cuts out the colors you don't want to see. And it's really impressive how one lens from Oakley can work in so many conditions. So yes, it's hard to figure out which lens you should get, but once you do, and if you're not really specific about the most contrast on the most overcast day, and you're just kind of a general list kind of writer and you don't want to think about changing lenses, that prism lens, all those colors in the middle are really good for just about everything. Now, there are people that really like two sets of lenses and really like a specific lens, like the sunny lens for bright days and the storm lens for overcast days. Most of the Smiths, especially once you get to a certain price point, come with two sets of lenses and have a very easy interchangeable lens system. Up until like last week, most of the Oakleys, actually all the Oakleys, did not come with two lenses and did not have an easy interchangeable system. But now Oakley has a new goggle called the Lineminder Pro, which has a magnetic and switch lock interchangeable system, which is the best system I've ever seen from Oakley. Probably one of the best interchangeable systems ever from any brand. So now Oakley's kind of brought the heat a little bit, because with this new goggle, you're getting a prism lens with the mirror, a little bit darker lens, and then you're also getting their new low light lens, which I haven't tested on the mountain yet, but from what I can tell in here in the studio and outside and, you know, dusk and dawn conditions that I've played with them, it is fantastic. I'm actually really excited. I usually don't like whiteout, sleety, snowy days, but I'm really excited to have one this season to test that lens out. So now Oakley's kind of brought a little bit more heat, and you have a little bit tougher choice now, because if before, like I said, you wanted two lenses, it was obviously ChromaPop. But now if you want two lenses, Oakley has one option, comes in a couple sizes. And as the years go on, Oakley has finally listened to all of us and all of you and me that they need to have more goggles with two lenses. So that is now part of the consideration. The color and the technology is not everything. Obviously, there's other factors involved in the quality of the lens, the wraparound, the distortion. In my opinion, Oakley wins the battle of like optical clarity. Like, take away the color and the ChromaPop and the prismness of it all, but just the actual lens and the distortion and the clarity, I give that one to Oakley. Especially now, they just started a whole kind of new concept, which was an old concept. They're making single pane lenses again. Years and years ago, we realized that dual pane lenses, just like a dual pane window, is going to minimize fogging. But anti-fog coatings have gotten so much better. Venting and foam on goggles have gotten so much better that now, in Oakley's opinion, the best lenses are actually single lenses again, because there's less things to look through, there's less chances for distortion, and you can get better optical clarity out of that single lens. Other considerations, of course, are brand allegiance, what your helmet is. Smith makes really, really good helmets, and a lot of people have their helmets, and there is something to do with having your helmet and your goggle match. To me, it just looks kind of cool. I don't like wearing Adidas socks with Nike shoes, but maybe I'm a little bit weird. But it's really nice to have that one system. Of course, most goggle brands and most helmet brands work really well together, but there's something about having one brand in everything, and it just kind of makes everything clean. There's no gap at all. The ventilation works together. It's a really nice system. Oakley's been behind the ball on the helmet game for sure. They've been stepping it up a little bit, but Smith is, I think, makes way better helmets, probably in all sports that they do with. Sorry, Oakley, but Smith makes better helmets than you. So that's a consideration too. If you have a Smith helmet and you're not really sure, they're so close as far as like technical stuff and color stuff. It's really going to come down to preference. So like I said, every good question, the answer is depends. It really depends for you. If you're not so into changing lenses and you just want one lens to kind of do everything, those middle of the road Oakley colors are fantastic for most people, for most conditions. Or the everyday lens from Smith does a great job, but that photochromatic lens, if you could find it, it usually sells out really quickly and it's more expensive. but that photochromatic lens does so much. If you love looking through rose lenses, pretty much that's all you're gonna get from Oakley, but Smith is gonna give you a variety of like darker, neutral or grays. They still definitely have some rose lenses. They have some amber, brownish lenses. So that's also depending on what you wanna do. So I didn't specifically answer your question, which one is better. I'm just gonna go over some key takeaways again. ChromaPop has more options as far as photochromatic. They also actually have some polarized lenses, which is really cool. Historically, we haven't loved polarized lenses for skiing and snowboarding because it makes it hard to see the ice, but they're making the lenses a little bit less polarized than sunglasses, which kind of gives you all the benefits of polarized and none of the negatives. So ChromaPop does come in polarized, it comes in photochromatic. It's much easier to decide what you want because of the clearly defined conditions and categories. They almost all come with 2 lenses. Almost all of them are pretty easy to interchange, and you don't have to only look through rose lenses. Prism is gonna give you a little bit more intensity as far as that color boost. It's very vibrant, it's very obvious. It's just like, wow, what is going on? It almost feels like AI or something is happening. It's really, really cool. It's really intense, but it's not for everybody. Some people just wanna kind of be a little bit more naturally looking. But if you really want that most amount of intensity and like that pop, I know they're ChromaPop, but like way more pop, the Prism's gonna give you a little bit more of that pop. Unfortunately, most of the models historically have come with 1 lens, and even if you wanted to buy a second lens, they're really hard to interchange. Oakley's just kind of dropped the ball on that whole world, even though they were one of the companies that started it years ago. So I'm glad they're back on their game with the new Pro series. These are gonna have 2 sets of lenses. They're gonna have one for brighter days, one for overcast days, and a much, much better interchangeable system. So those are kind of the differences. Hopefully this helped you make a decision. If not, if you still have questions, you can leave it down in the comments section. If you wanna specifically talk about what your needs are and what you need, check out our website, and then you'll find our phone number on there. You can call us or chat with us or email us. We have about 15 certified opticians that love goggles, that know all about this technology. Every year we're doing clinics and learning more, and a lot of us ski and snowboard, and we can speak with you directly and figure out what is the best option for you. And if you get something from SportRx and you don't love it, you can always exchange or return it. We're really cool about that. And don't forget, we can do both of them in prescription with our amazing prescription insert. All right, hopefully you have the best season yet. Later.